What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a video on a very interesting, very weird little knife. This is a friction folder offered by Benchmade, the 380 Ali, I guess is how you pronounce it. I was watching a video with Hans, and that seems to be how he pronounced it. It's spelled A-L-L-E-R, so it looks like Aller, but I guess it's pronounced Ali. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I heard him incorrectly, but that seems to be how they're pronouncing it there. So this is a collaborative effort. I'm going to attempt to say these names correctly. This is a collaborative effort between Benchmade and Patrick Famin, Famin, and then Eric. It looks like Demon Givert, Demongivert. It might be Demon Guyver. I'm not really sure exactly. I am so sorry if I mispronounced those names. I just want to give credit where it's due. This knife was provided to me directly by Benchmade, or rather to the pass-around group that I'm involved in. As always, I will try not to let that affect my review. Shouldn't be too difficult, though. Let's go ahead and do some size comparison. Let's do the measurement, actually, first here real quick. So I want to measure the close length first, because we've got that piece that sticks up on the friction folder. From the tip up here, actually, if you want to just do the body, you're looking at about 2.5 inches on the body. If you want to go the top of this friction folder to the body, you're looking at 3 inches. If you want to go to the top, from the top of the friction folder tip all the way to the tip of this, the screwdriver or the flathead, you're looking at about 3.3 inches. I don't know if those measurements are going to be useful to everyone. This is going to be difficult because the knife doesn't want to lay flat because of the pocket clip. The overall length, or the overall open length, if you want to go tip to body, is about 4.1, 4.2. From tip to the end of the flathead, you're looking at 4.5 exactly. Cutting edge is exactly 1.5 inches. From tip to the body, you're looking at 1.75. I hope those were all the measurements you guys were hoping to get. Let's do some size comparisons here. Again, sorry about the glare on the knife there, just wants to tip. Up against the Ontario Rat Model 1. Rat 1 coming in at 8.6 inches over there. You can see exactly how small this knife is. Up against the PM2. PM2 coming in at 8.3 inches overall, again dwarfing it. Up against the XM18. XM18 coming in at 8.25 inches overall. Up against the Benchmade grip cylinder, in this case the Ritter Hogue. Ritter Hogue coming in at 8 inches overall. And last but not least, the smallest knife that I ever do for a size comparison, the Spyderco Delica, coming in at 7 inches overall. So this is a very little teeny tiny knife. Let's weigh it. Kind of give you guys a show here of the action. You can see it's a friction folder. So we'll go over that for those of you who aren't familiar with those. Overall weight of the Ollie, 1.8 ounces. Let's flip it over and go again. 1.83 ounces. So teeny tiny little knife. So this knife was designed with the traveler in mind. I mean, it goes without saying that this knife has a mega emphasis on being lightweight and compact, but also the means of deployment and the fact that it doesn't have a lock, and you know how small it is overall, especially the cutting edge and blade length and just the blade design, will make this legal almost everywhere. This is something that can be taken with you almost anywhere. Now, of course, you're going to have to, figure out what you got to do if you're traveling outside of the country. And you should still, it's always good practice to check laws, when you're going state to state. Don't just assume I can take this, this is the perfect thing, I take it with me anywhere and I won't ever get in trouble. No, you should still definitely check. But I mean, that's the beauty of this knife is, I'm not going to have reservations. If I'm going to travel from Kansas to another state, almost anywhere in the country, I'm not going to have reservations against carrying this knife. Like I said, just make sure you check everything. So that's really, really cool. Let's go over the anatomy of this knife. So, of course, here's the body here. We've got G10, and you've got some blue G10 liners. The steel on the blade is S30V. You can see right there, S30V. As is the case with all Benchmades, they are made in the United States. You can see their USA underneath the butterfly. Really, really nice. You have a sort of a, it's like a small razor blade, Warncliffe style razor blade, but in the form of friction folder. Now, on a friction folder, the way you open it is simply with this back tab or lever here. You just sort of wheel it around. It doesn't lock, friction sort of holds it in place. There is a stop pin back here, and the tang of the blade, it's actually part of the bottle opener, we'll talk about that, rests on top of that. You keep the blade out by tucking your finger up here and sort of pushing down back here on this lever to keep it from going forward. Now, there is still a chance with all friction folders or non-locking blades that it can disengage and go forward on you, and that kind of stinks, but generally with a knife like this, you're not going to be making heavy pressure cuts, so there's not that much of a chance of the knife slipping off whatever it is that you're cutting and somehow the blade coming down on your fingers. That is a disadvantage with, like I said, all non-locking blades, and it's something you should keep in mind if you're used to knives that lock out when you open them, because you don't have the same luxuries, meaning, you don't have to, dedicate a part of your mind to worrying about whether or not the blade's going to close on you. You have to pay attention to that, so that's something to consider. Moving down here, you've got it's kind of a dog tag sized body. You've got black G10, and you've got these little traction lines, which actually do provide some nice traction if you're holding it on here. I mean, your fingers naturally are going to come in contact with these. There's a nice tuck spot right here. I guess you'd call that the primary choil. Nice show side pivot. Benchmade's doing this a lot. This is kind of the pivot that you see on the Crooked River, where they've got the just the polished show side, and then you've got a pivot collar. In this case, it looks to be probably anodized blue aluminum to match the liners. And then you've got an open body design with a backspacer back here that doubles as a little tiny pry bar. It's got the bit holder there, and it's got a little, this can serve as a flathead screwdriver. You do have a lanyard hold here. Moving over to the other side, you have a very interesting pocket clip with a ball bearing style, the ball here that rolls over the seam of your pants. You've got nice little, they're like little standoffs that are blue anodized that hold these up, or hold up the pocket clip away from the frame. And then you have the adjustment side of the pivot here, which is a Torx head. Not a lot of pieces. In fact, the same pieces that are holding in the pocket clip are actually holding the whole body together and, working together with the pivot. So you have a very, very simple design. There is no additional steel on the inside here. It's just straight up G10, which is fine. Doesn't make any sense on a knife like this to have steel reinforcing the body. So all of the tools that come on this, aside from the blade, are the bottle opener, which works perfectly. That's great. I love the little unobtrusive bottle opener there. And like I said, the flathead / bit holder / little mini pry bar there. That's really cool. You're packing in a lot of stuff on this little knife that stuff that I like to carry. You guys have seen my EDC video. If you haven't, feel free to go watch that. I like to carry a bottle opener, and I like to carry a flathead screwdriver and a little pry bar. If I can get it all in one package, then great. That is really, really cool. A couple of other things that make this interesting. I actually had to write some of this down. I never write stuff down for reviews. I don't know if you guys can tell. I like to just start talking because you guys get... it's more real that way. To me, anyways. That's just my style of doing things. Another cool thing about this knife is that you can actually remove the pocket clip completely, and it's one of the few pocket knives that I think actually would make a reasonable thing to attach to your keychain. It's super lightweight. Yeah, it's about the same size as a key fob. I wonder, my fob's not laying around here. Here it is. It's about the same size as a key fob. So you can see there. It's actually it's a little teeny tiny bit bigger, but if that kind of stuff is going to be hanging off your keys anyway and you don't mind, it actually wouldn't make a bad little keychain knife. It does actually ride super comfortable on the inside of your pants. There's good retention on that pocket clip. That ball bearing does a good job of keeping it held down, and it also does a good job of allowing you to release this when you want it to, so that's nice. It's also really easy to deploy and put away with one hand. This is it doesn't make that satisfying click noise, and there's not really you're actually going to mess up your finger if you do that. You probably kind of could, but it's pointless to do that. So you don't really have that with this knife, but that's not really the type of knife that it is. So That's all great. Another really interesting point is that if you are going to keep this in your pocket, you can actually keep this in your pocket, inside your pocket, and use this portion as a money clip. I had no idea that would even, I wouldn't have thought of that until I read it. And it makes perfect sense. Yeah, you can use this as a little money clip. So that's another little tool thing to point out. A lot of people carry a dedicated money clip. It's just one less thing that you'd have to carry with this knife. So that's neat. I really like that. I just like how that looks. The whole thing just has this like mini gadgety little, it looks like a tiny Decepticon that's going to turn into something else, if you leave it alone or you leave it in a room by itself. But that's kind of what it makes me think of. Another interesting thing on the pivot. So if you're wondering what they're using in here for washers, they're using what's called, actually, I'm going to see if I can see. They're using something called spring washers. So there's constant tension on the blade coming from this side of the pivot and this side of the pivot. So the action, which by the way, as far as like the smoothness, it's plenty smooth. There's not a lot of friction, but there's enough friction to keep the blade in place. There's no blade play whatsoever. According to Hans on that video, it's going to stay that way for a very long time, given the fact that the tension on those is keeping it in place. Now, I'm not going to take this knife apart because it needs to go to other reviewers. I don't know what those look like. I imagine the surface contact points are phosphor bronze. That would just make sense. And then somehow they've got, I guess, springs in there that hold them together. I'm sure there's a video out there of somebody explaining it. I think that's neat. I don't know how durable they are. As far as, keeping the blade with the same action over time, I think that's awesome, but I don't know any other aspects of it, how they do over time, I really don't know. I think the whole thing is a really good design. I've got a nitpick here. This part right here, when I'm holding this knife, and, your natural urge to choke, there's a natural urge to choke up on this, to keep it in place, just given the fact, the whole ergonomic design and the fact that it doesn't lock. I find myself wanting to do this and really hold on to it. The problem is that this piece right here, you can see that point back there. Sorry, the street cleaner guy is going by. That point right there is not, it's not very kind. It's very pointy. So as you're choking up, that is digging into my finger there. That's just what's going to happen here. It's just this big sort of shard of metal that's sticking up. And I get the idea. It's to keep your finger from running up on the blade, but I feel like that could be less of a dagger just grinding into my finger. I don't really like that. Other than that, though, I mean, for a tiny little object like this, yeah, it's easy to hang on to. I don't really have a problem with it ergonomically. The wide body is easy. I mean, it's easy on your hands, I guess is what I'm saying. It's a small object that's not easily dropped because it is so wide or tall or however you want to put that. And given the shape of the spine here or the size of the blade, it's easy to put away. I mean, the entire knife wants to function the way it was designed to, and that's great. I just don't like this. That bothers me. So that's kind of an issue. There's only one other issue with this knife, and I'm sure you guys know it's coming. Those of you who looked up this knife, and you looked at it on Benchmade site first, or you looked at it somewhere else, and then you went to YouTube to see, does anybody have a video on it? You're waiting to hear me talk about the price. So I think these are priced at, right now, and I could be wrong, I want to say these are priced at $130 or $140 with an MSRP of $160. Now, maybe that'll change in the future. Or maybe it's a little bit less in some areas than what I'm saying here right now, but that's way too much money for this. Benchmade has a bad track record of just being really high on a lot of their stuff. Here recently, the only knife that I think was really priced close to appropriately through Benchmade is the Super Freak. Given what you get, even that one's still just it's just a hair high versus what I'd want to spend on it, but. Honestly, truthfully, this is my thought. Oftentimes I have this thing where I'll pick something up and I try to guess what I think it should cost. If you didn't have the butterfly logo on there, every time I see that, I'm like, well, I'm just add $50 to whatever I'm going to guess, and that's about where Benchmade's going to be on it. But truthfully, when I picked this up, I thought, okay, S30V, G10, USA made. It's got a whole bunch of different tools on there. It's got really good fit and finish. By the way, the thing's got good centering. It's centered up. Everything's perfect on this. As far as fit and finish goes, I'm not seeing the typical Benchmade quality control issues on this guy. This looks like about 75 bucks to me. That's honestly what I'm thinking. 75, 80 bucks. Some people are going to go, whoa, no, that's way too high. If you're equating the cost to the size of it, it doesn't make sense. A lot of people do this thing where the smaller the thing is, it must cost less, right? Well, not in terms, when something like this is being manufactured, just the fact that it is small doesn't necessarily make it less expensive. Yeah, it's less material, but, considering how the raw materials come in and then they have to be cut and shaped and all that, I'm not a professional on that, but just it being small doesn't make it automatically cost less right there. But still, though, for what it is a little thing. It is just G10 and a piece of S30V, and it's not like there's a lot of complicated parts here. Yeah, you have those little those spring washers, but there's not really enough complexity here in what it would take to create this for me to believe that this is a $120, $130, $140 object. This is a simple, very convenient, very well made multi-tool / cutting tool. But I'm seeing 75 to 80 bucks here. Now, some of you guys are going to say, I'd pay up to 100 for that. Maybe so. Say it's 75 to 100 bucks. 100 bucks max. I'm not seeing any more than $100 here, and that's what bothers me. I love the design. I love the idea. I love the fact that, it's something that you really could carry almost anywhere. I love that. That little point needs to be fixed. That drives me crazy. Other than that, though, I love this thing. I love this thing. I think this is super cool. I trust this. I trust, this short little piece right here that could be used as a flathead screwdriver or a little pry bar. You're limited on everything you can do with it, given how thick it is and how stubby it is, but I'd rather have it there than not have it there. For those of you wondering, would it make a good glass breaker? I don't know. You probably could break glass with it. That point right there is going to make it a little bit difficult. The bottle opener works great. Feels like it's in a natural position. Love the money clip idea. Love the little keychain knife idea. It really, all of that. This knife does work well as all those things, and it would save you the trouble of carrying all of those individual objects. I just don't think it's worth the money that you're going to pay for it, and that's just a typical problem with Benchmade. If you're looking at this and you're going 140 bucks, I'm saying that max. I don't know exactly what these are going to be priced at where. If you're looking at this and you're going 140 bucks, between my pry bar and my multi-tool that I carry and my bottle opener and my money clip and my knife, I got a lot more than 140 bucks there. I'm going to sell all that stuff and buy this. Then great. If you want to look at it that way, okay, justification's there. That's fine. Some people are going to go for this. Some people aren't. I think that, most people are going to look at this and that's what they're going to see. They're going to see something that just costs too much money. For that reason, I can't put this on my most recommended playlist. I got to be honest. It's really hard for me to recommend something like, oh, check out the 380. It has all those things. Oh, cool. How much is it? 140 bucks. You're going to get a cringe 99% of the time. And it's just a problem. Other than that, though, super, super cool. I really like this. I think this is awesome. It comes in one of the little teeny tiny Benchmade bags, which I always think is funny. You probably can't tell. I don't have a regular sized one out here to compare it with. You do get Benchmade's legendary warranty, which is great. S30V, of course, is a great steal. For your light everyday tasks, this is going to tackle it. This is obviously a light duty little pocket blade. It's almost like, I don't even want to call it a knife because it's hardly a knife. It's just a thing that has a blade on it, but it's definitely cool. I would say for those of you who enjoy collecting little well-made conversation pieces, this is definitely going to fit that role. Really neat. Pocket clip is super weird, but it does its job. It holds it in place and it goes with the rest of the knife. It's a neat object. Honestly, that's really all I have to say about this. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, of course, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so please check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, then please subscribe to my channel because there is definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.